everyone, Black Knight here. I wanted to do a quick overall review of Lion Rampant. So it's a medieval skirmish game produced by Osprey War Games and authored by Daniel Mercy. This is a really fun medieval skirmish game that I really enjoy. It's very simple but elegant rule set, and it's easy to play. I taught my wife in an evening and we played a game. It was fantastic. And the best part, I think, is this is incredible value. You can find this online for about $20, I believe, is what I paid for it. You can't beat that for a miniatures wargaming rule set. Well, you can go free, but anyways, I would do it over and over and over again. This was a fantastic purchase. I'm very glad that I got this. So I wanted to kind of hit some of the high points of how this game is different from other war games that I've played. I come from, my background's mainly Games Workshop games, so Warhammer Fantasy, Warhammer 40K, but I've also read rules for Saga, Warhammer Ancient Battles, Bolt Action, Flames of War, things like that. So I've kind of been around as far as reading rule sets, but this has some pretty interesting stuff in here. So what I kind of want to see if I can find a good starting point. I'm just going to go to a profile page. So here's mounted men-at-arms. So how the game works is you have like a regular size game is 24 points. There's a very elegant but simple army composition rules that makes it sure that you can't just have your entire like war band or whatever being entirely composed of mounted men-at-arms. So that's already taken care of. You don't have to worry about that. But other than that, you have an army or a war band made up of 24 points. Every single unit is either going to be 6 models or 12 models. I think all of the mounted units are going to be 6. Most of the units on foot are going to be made out of 12. How the game works is you have your units and you go through and you issue an order. You issue an order, but there's attack, move, or shoot orders. To complete that order, you roll 2 dice. If you meet or exceed the needed value, that order is successful and you execute that order. If you fail, your turn's over and it goes over to your opponent's turn. So it's kind of interesting in that every single order that you issue is pretty important. It's kind of nail-biting moments for every single roll, which is fun. And you need to make sure that you're moving your units appropriately, issuing the correct orders. So, for example, like these mounted men-at-arms, their move is a 7 or more. So on average, they should move, but they're easier to issue an attack order than a move order. And that's kind of to resemble, at least from what I've seen from the author, who's very active on his own forum covering his rules, which is amazing, is that mounted men-at-arms, if you're fighting just in a skirmish, there might not be a lot of ransoms to get. Very true to historical. So they're not going to really be interested in moving into engaging peasants. But if they're nearby, sure, of course they'll run in and for the charge. So they have rules like wild charge to show that they're impetuous. Cavalry, these guys can counter charge, and all these different points values for changing. But so that was one thing that is kind of unique for this game. The other thing that I like is that, so when you're doing the attack, these guys, you roll 12 dice when you're at full strength, greater than half, basically. So if these guys are 4 models or more, they're at full strength, you roll 12 dice. If they're at 3 guys or less, you roll 6 dice. For infantry units, since most of them are 12, they're at 7 or more models, they're rolling 12 dice. Less than half or less, 6 dice. Very simple. But these guys, so on the attack, they hit on 3 or more, and there's no to hit or to wound. This is you just roll, and that's how many hits you do, essentially. If they are being attacked, they're not as good as defending, they need a 5 or more. And what's cool, so they have the armor of 4. Pretty heavily armored. You need, basically, if my opponent rolls a bunch of dice, they need 4 hits to remove one of my models. So you're dealing damage back and forth to each other. The other thing that's interesting or unique about this game is, see, there's moving. Shooting's very simple as well. Only one model needs to be within range for them all to shoot. There's just one simple modifier. You roll your dice for shooting, and however many hits you do, you compare that to their armor, and then you remove those models. Attacking also very easy to do. And let's see if I can get to the courage part, because I really like this. Courage tests. Now the size of your units also has an impact on your morale tests. So basically, each turn, if you've either taken damage or wounds from shooting or an attack, close combat, you take a courage test. And what you do for that is you roll 2 dice, you add the total, you subtract 1 for each casualty that you've had, and then I'll just read through these bullets. Subtract 1 if your total retinue has had half or more of its points removed from play. You add 1 if your leader's within 12 inches. Compare it to your courage score. If your courage score is equal to or higher than what you need, then congratulations, they're fine. If it's less than, but greater than 0, they become battered. And if it's less than 0, you just take them off the board. So for example, let's see, these archers, their courage value is 4 or more, and there's 12 of them. So let's say they've taken some damage, they've had 4 wounds. If I roll let's say an 8, I become a 4, they're okay. But let's say I roll like a 5, they lost 4 wounds, so that becomes a 1, they'd be battered, because they'd fail. If I rolled like a 2, so the more casualties you take in this large unit, so it's a large unit of 12, the more casualties they take, the greater that they're going to run. These more elite units, like those mounted men-at-arms, have armor of 4, and there's only 6 guys in the unit. It's very unlikely, unless you roll some double 1s, that they're going to rout off the table. So I really enjoy this game. There's lots of tons of scenarios in the back that seem like they're a lot of fun to play. I'm hoping to play those throughout the years here. Lots of sample retinues in the back. They have some fantasy type or Hollywood type stuff. But you have, let's see if I can do a quick shot of this here. You got your British Isles, so you got your Irish, your English, later English with the bows, Western Europe, they have some Eastern Europe, Crusades. And these are all very generic naming convention, so pretty much any single country or historical army that you would like to represent on the table is very easily achieved with these rules. That's one of the things I really like about it. So yeah, maybe hopefully in the future I can do some how to play videos. I think that would help show how fun this game really is. I know there's already some excellent battle reports online. I'm hoping to use this as my triple threat, what I like to say, with my Bretonians, where I can paint them to play either Warhammer Fantasy. Definitely I'm going to painting them, since I'm using historical type heraldry or heraldic devices. Use them in Lion Rampant, and then also use maybe some Saga. Also, dabbling in a bunch of historical stuff with the miniatures that I have. But this is definitely, I would recommend this to anyone that has any interest in the medieval time period and enjoys wargaming. And yeah, if you guys have any questions about anything, just shoot me a comment below. If you'd like to see a battle report, let me know and I can get that up here for you, and so you can see how it plays. But yeah, definitely fantastic value. And for those of you that are more fantasy inclined, I believe later on this year they're coming up with the author kind of had ideas for adding fantasy elements to this game, and from what I've heard or what I've read on his website is that Osprey's actually has picked up those ideas, and they're actually going to publish a game called Dragon Rampant, which is, I believe that's the title, maybe that's just the working title, which will be Fantasy Skirmish Wargaming Rules, which will basically use this system, but then, throw in some fantasy elements, so you have monsters, casters, things like that, which should be very interesting and fun to compare against, let's say, Age of Sigmar, which is, we'll see how that works. So, hope you enjoyed, everyone. I'll catch you later.